government is making cars, they say, more affordable for Kiwis by cutting charges under the Clean Vehicle Standard. Transport Minister Chris Bishop says the current rules risk driving up prices because importers are struggling to meet the CO2 targets, with 86% facing net charges rather than earning credits. The changes aim to prevent higher car prices and reduce choice, potentially saving consumers hundreds, even thousands of dollars on popular imports. Great news, is it? Or will New Zealand become a dumping ground for filthy high-emission cars? Lewis Rowe is the owner of Devonport Car Company, and he joins me now. Lewis, good afternoon.
Hi, Leah.
Hi,
Hey.
Lewis. Hey, can we take a step back, please? And when were these regulations brought in?
Yeah, so just to make it clear to your listeners, there were two schemes brought out by the then Labour government back from in 2023. One was the Clean Car Discount Scheme, which was a customer-facing scheme about whether you would pay a fee if you bought a higher emission car, brand new or secondhand, or you got a rebate if you bought a low emission or electric vehicle, and some cars were cost neutral, so you wouldn't get any money back from the government, nor would you pay a fee.
Yeah.
And then sat behind that, behind the scenes, is the Clean Car Standard, or as you called it, the Clean Vehicle Standard. That system is for importers of cars, so whether that be the big guys bringing in brand new vehicles into New Zealand, or the smaller guys like me bringing in second-hand imports from overseas. And the cars are then based, the fee is based on the emissions profile of the car. And so for most standard petrol, diesel cars, and actually even in some cases, some hybrids, those emissions are higher than the current targets, and we have to pay a fee through a system prior to registration. And obviously that fee is passed on to consumers. It's not something we can absorb into our pretty tight margins. I know everybody, or a lot of people, think car dealers are multimillionaires, but you can certainly tell by the 300 dealers that have shut down in the last 18 months that this is not a money-making industry at the moment. And obviously, if on the other side of that, if dealers bring in electric vehicles or lower emitting vehicles, then they get credits, which they can use to offset the fees and charges they get for bringing in higher emitting cars. So that is the system we're discussing.
Right. Well pointed out, Lewis. So you're not calling us from your yacht then?
I'm very much at work in my little yard in Belmont on the North Shore, watching the rain come down and hoping someone might give me some money today.
Yeah, buy a car. So am I okay? So am I right in saying charges for new vehicles? I mean, these are substantial drops. Will drop from $67.50 to $15 per gram of CO2, and used vehicles will go from $33.75 to $7.50. And credits will also be protected until the end of 2028. That's going to make a huge difference, Lewis.
It will. From the research that I've done since the announcement yesterday, the targets, which become harder to hit on the 1st of January each year. So each year, they make it, they're trying to get the emissions lower and lower and lower. I believe that those targets are still going to change from the 1st of January. So we will still be trying to hit lower targets. However, the cost of the fees on those higher emitting cars, as you've just said, will come down. So the cost does not disappear, but it obviously is designed to be reduced quite somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, Labour originally said targets tougher than the EU, Japan and South Korea. So, I mean, how hard financially was it on importers of vehicles here?
Look, I mean, it's been a mixed bag because we've had this in the background to deal with, whilst at the same time we've been dealing with especially in Auckland, a very lean economy. And Kiwis, I think this industry is one of the last ones where people still feel they deserve or should get, a discount or negotiation, which I understand. It's been like that for many years, but we're running on tighter margins than it's ever been before. One thing I've never understood about the system for our New Zealand market, and I would say this about a lot of things the government decide to do, when you look at other countries across the OECD, where we tend to, in some cases, copy and paste legislation, it doesn't always work in New Zealand because, for example, our car industry is very different to a lot over, around the globe because we don't manufacture any cars here. And 60 to 70% of the vehicles we bring into New Zealand are brought in as second-hand imports. Yeah. So, all we've been doing is stinging consumers additional costs on their cars to be able to buy what they want. Electric vehicles are not for everyone. They have a place, but not everybody can make an electric vehicle work for them. So the people who are still having to buy standard petrol and diesel vehicles, and in some cases even hybrids, are paying more for that car than they would have done without this scheme in place. Wow.
Lewis, the Greenies believe we're going to become a dumping ground now for filthy high-emission cars. Do you see that happening?
I find that hilarious, and I tell you why. It's because that is a great marketing argument. Go and ask the Greens, because of the system we have in place, how many dealers across New Zealand are bringing in old, high mileage, and low battery percentage Nissan Leafs from Japan purely for the credits that those cars give them. They're bringing them in, where they've got a limited battery range. They're certainly coming to the end of their useful life, but they're cheap to buy in Japan, and they get, $3,000 to $3,500 as a used vehicle worth of credits to be able to be used to sell their petrol and diesel vehicles. So to say that this change in the scheme is going to end up being a dumping ground for high emission cars, well, actually, it's already a dumping ground for older electric vehicles that are starting to come to the end of their useful life.
Geez, good to know. And so will this mean, Lewis, now that your cars that you bring in, you're paying less per gram for CO2? Will it mean that the public will be able to get a bit of a deal? I won't say a cheap car, but you don't sell cheap cars. But
to be honest, cars in New Zealand, I mean, it's easy for me to say this as someone who owns a dealership. Cars in New Zealand are actually very well priced. I don't think a lot of New Zealanders realise how good we have it if they go and compare the pricing to vehicles in Australia, vehicles in the United Kingdom. That's just two places I have visited in the last 18 months and been shocked at the price of cars versus what we pay in New Zealand. So actually, we already get a pretty good deal. I think there's been many changes to this system, and it will take a while for the sort of the prices to catch up. But yes, it should make a difference, into next year, that buying a standard petrol or mild hybrid or diesel, if it's a car that has been freshly imported, because obviously this scheme does not affect cars that are already here and registered, then hopefully those prices should sharpen up, unless we have more increases in every other fee that we have to pay to bring cars in, which, shipping, compliance costs, registration costs, it's all been going up, and up. So, this will make a slight difference. And on some of those bigger cars with higher emitting engines, it should make quite a difference.
And it is a good start, Lewis, but I mean, there are calls that the whole scheme should be scrapped entirely. I mean, you'd
absolutely agree with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the reason for this is not because I think, we should burn the planet to the ground. I get the reasons behind it. I get where, people who care about the environment are coming from. I do empathize and understand. However, these vehicles, second-hand vehicles, are already on the planet. They're already produced. They've already been built. And whether they sell to New Zealand, whether they sell into South Africa, to Chile, they are already produced.
Yeah.
So those cars are still emitting no matter where they are in the world. The other thing with this particular system, again, this is from some research I've done recently, the system is basically cost neutral to the government. So the fees that they do collect basically, give or take, cover the administration cost of running the scheme. So it's not like they're raising $1 billion a year from this scheme to put into electric vehicle charging or to put into roading or infrastructure. That isn't happening with this system. So to have a system that you raise revenue that basically just covers the cost of running the system makes no sense to me.
Pointless.
It seems like in one hand and out the other. It seems ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it's virtue signaling to me, Lewis. That's my take on it. But, you know, this is a start. But, you know, the whole scheme should be scrapped entirely. Now, you do take trade-ins, because I've got a deal for you. I've got...
Your car's almost vintage, isn't it, Leah?
I've got a vintage car. That's done 240,000 on the clock, Lulu.
I'm sure there's a scrapyard in Auckland that would love to own your car, Leah.
I could give it to you for a mere like 15,000 trade-in sitting in the no. Maybe
you're so kind, but I'm going to very kindly decline your offer.
Oh, Lewis. Anyway, you will love my car one day. I appreciate your time, Lewis, and for explaining it very succinctly. And one day, you never know, I could be coming to see your fantastic lot in Devonport, Belmont, and driving away in a. I think a Lexus for Leah sounds really nice.
Oh, you'd suit a Lexus. I can see that.
You can see that. Yeah. All right. Let's work on that. Lewis, that is Lewis Rowe. Oh, sorry, what?
Thanks for having me on.
That's right, love. Lewis Rowe, the owner of Devonport Car Company in Belmont, Auckland.